Bringing in our guy, Tom Murphy. Tom, good morning, buddy. We got a chance to talk with Pittman on Tuesday, and one of the questions I asked him is, have you gotten feedback from fans talking about how they appreciate you wanting to be the head coach at Arkansas? Tom, how important do you think that is for the football program that you have a coach that doesn't want to be a Division I coach, doesn't want to be an SEC head coach, that wants to be the coach of the Arkansas Razorbacks?
Well, it's super meaningful, and you're kind of like Rakeem Boyd, man. It's like, well, we talked to Pittman. In fact, I think Myron Cunningham was doing that too the other day. So it's interesting. But that's his calling card, is that this was the university he wanted to be the head coach for. And when he relates those stories about living over in Grove, Oklahoma, and coming to camps here when Lou Holtz was the head coach, and with his self-deprecating humor about how he was cold out, basically, when they saw him running or when they looked at him. And so he winds up at Pittsburgh State. But he developed basically a lifelong attraction and love for the Razorbacks. And we know from his first stint here what a bearing he had on the play. I mean, offensive line play when he was here. Not only did they get that hype and the heaviest line in the country, but they delivered. I mean, Arkansas was a good run team and a pretty balanced offensive team for a couple of those years. The 14 and 15, they put up a pretty good offense. Mm-hmm. So I think it's impactful for the folks in the state to know that he's really serious and passionate about being here and coaching here. And even though, Chad Morris did the whole, I would have walked backward from Texas up here to coach, the love affair with Arkansas didn't feel like it was a real deal.
He'd have walked backwards for the money. Let's just be honest. It was about the money. So,
Tom, on that note, one of the reasons that Arkansas was decently successful in 2015 is the quarterback position. I don't think Brandon Allen got the credit that he deserved, or really the position he deserved, that he could have taken this program if given a better opportunity. But when you look at the quarterback's position, it was kind of funny how Sam Pittman answered that question. He was like, I don't know if we're going to tell you guys, but the team knows. Tom, have they named a starting quarterback? What are your thoughts on Pittman's comments on Tuesday night?
Well, I think what we do is we attach such a great significance to it, and I think internally, Kendall Brown said before camp opened, it's Felipe Franks' job to lose, and all the video you see is of Felipe Franks, running with the ones, and that's what we've seen out at practice. So I think everyone's just kind of assumed here's a senior who's got it done before, who had a big year in 2018, lost his starting job at Florida after his broken ankle after, game 4 last year or game 3, and this is a guy who's got a huge arm, who is a great leader of men. I've talked to folks who covered him at Florida who talk about how there was no one on that team who had more respect of his teammates than Felipe Franks did. So I'm just kind of assuming that nothing's changed and Felipe Franks is going to be the starter.
Have you heard any more on Brad Davis's situation? I know it's a personal health matter, but the more I think about it and the more that Sam Pittman's involved specifically with the O-line, which we expected to be some degree, it does limit his ability to be a full-scale CEO head coach, don't you think?
Well, I mean, in the drills that we saw, which were just, when everyone's broken up, the O-line drills, he was helping out there. But they've gotten the certification. Ryan Urachek, the DA on offense, he can coach them anyway. He can be an on-the-field coach. So his voice is already, a strong one in that room. And then now Joseph Henry, who's the son of the former Razorback tight end, son of Sam's agent, Judy Henry in Little Rock. He's a quality control guy, and now he can help. They got him certified, so he can help. So I think when they go into team periods, obviously Sam is watching everything. But I do believe that with those two guys working, and they expect Brad Davis to be back on at the maybe early next week. Mm-hmm. Sam expected him to be gone maybe only a week. And I have heard some things about what it might be, and I do not believe it's like a COVID thing. So hopefully here in a week or so, they get their man back in the room. And I told y'all Tuesday how I feel about Brad Davis. I think he's a wonderful coach.
Well, and I'm with you. I mean, if he's out a week or so, I don't think this is a storyline that will live on. But if he was out an extended period of time, 3-4 weeks leading up to the season, I mean, no offense to Joseph Henry or Ryan Yurchek, but they're young, up-and-coming apprentices at the position. They are no replacement for Brad Davis or certainly the voice and the experience of your head coach and Sam Pittman. So, I mean, This is the unit of the team that you could certainly make the case needs the most improvement, and this is not the time for any kind of change or hole in the leadership that you have at that spot.
Absolutely, and Brad Davis is a guy who kind of commands respect, and he's when he talks, I mean, he's just such a clear enunciator, and he gets across his message, and he doesn't mess around, and I think that comes across to the players under his wing, and he'll be very much welcome back when he comes back, and like Sam Pittman was saying, hopefully it's just a week, and I don't think it's that a major deal unless it extends further into camp.
Agreed.
Tom Murphy with us here on the Morning Rush. Tom, one of the other things Sam Pittman was asked about, and I thought his answer was kind of interesting, is about transfers. I know that Trey Schapp asked him about, hey, what would you do? Are you looking for transfers and stuff? And he said if it's a position in need or whatever, and I expanded on that. I said, all right, so what position group do you need? And he didn't want to single one out, obviously, and tick a coach or position group off, but he mentioned maybe a skill player, maybe a big-time player. Tom, do you anticipate, because we don't know 100% the scholarship, do you anticipate them adding someone in the offseason and how difficult that might be to get them ready for a couple weeks from now?
Yeah, I think that would be less likely than likely, and you're right. He's like, because first of all, the players from the Big Ten and the Pac-12, how can they transfer in when camps are already started?
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose they could, but I don't know. That feels. I know Lane Kiffin's been arguing heavily for that, but something feels a little bit off in my mind. But if the NCAA says, hey, if you're this guy at Michigan State and you don't feel like you're, going to play, well, you're not playing this year, and you can have immediate eligibility, then we might have some of that. I'm not that fond of the idea, but maybe it'll happen. And it's funny though that Sam Pittman was he didn't want to name like we need more running backs. We need a real impact 6'5" wide receiver. No, he didn't say that. And it's the same as pointing out who looked good in the first day in pads. Because if you start naming names, then some guy had a really big day, and then you just forget about him. Yeah, and then you snub somebody, and he didn't want to do that. But I think later he was asked who has wowed you, and then he did name some names. Guys like Julius Coates, who, when you see him out on the field, he looks like a defensive end is supposed to look. And if they can plug and play that guy, suddenly they've got themselves a potentially wicked pass rusher, and it changes the complexion of your program. I mean, you get pressure on the other quarterback faster, it throws them off their rhythm, and maybe you knock down some passes. So they need several more Julius Coates. They need impact dudes all over the field. They need more speed. But it seems to me like their recruiting is going to go better under Sam Pittman. And even though Chad Morris's second class is a really good one, I just think that they're going to add more impact dudes. And it was good to hear him talking about how with Xavier Kelly and Jonathan Marshall, you got two guys on the inside who are big guys, who are strong, who, if they hold the point, it makes it a lot harder to break off huge plays up the middle. They're tying up blockers. They're leaving the linebackers cleaner to make plays, and that's just fundamental defense. And perhaps Arkansas is taking steps to perform that way.
So, Tom, you bring up Julius Coates. I know one of the best defensive linemen ever come through this football program was Jamal Anderson, listed at 6'6", played wide receiver out of Little Rock in high school, transformed to just a magnificent defensive end. Coates is 6'7", and he's got a little more weight on him. I mean, watching this kid, we've seen the highlight clips. We've heard Pittman talk about that we can't block him in practice. How excited should Arkansas fans be about the disruptiveness that Julius Coates could cause for opposing quarterbacks this year?
Yeah, pretty excited. I mean, and just he impacts your depth. I mean, no knock on Mateo Soli, but he had to start as a true freshman with a broken hand. That just blows me away. And so if you've got a Julius Coates, then guys like him and Zach Williams and Eric Gregory, they could be guys who give you good quality, 20, 30 snaps a game, and can continue to learn. And hopefully Dorian Gerald reverts to his junior college form. And then you got two experienced guys, both JUCO guys who have been big-time performers in their past, who you can get good workout from your defensive end spots.
Yeah. You mentioned some of these young guys having to start in previous years. It got me to thinking about surprise starters. And when I say surprise, I mean nothing sneaks up on you coming out of camp generally. But, guys over the summer, I wouldn't expect that guy to start. And I think about a Luke Jones that's right now potentially going to start at left guard. He's working with the first team. Who are some of the other guys that maybe you're seeing through these glimpses into practice, Tom, that might be working their way into a starting role that you didn't expect to be at the top of a two deep?
Well, we could just stick with the offensive line. I mean, Bo Limmer redshirted last year, but in the newly configured line they have, Ricky Stromberg, who was the right guard, is now playing at center some, and he and Ty Clary are having a great battle there. Well, but that afforded Bo Limmer the chance, and I haven't seen anything that indicates he won't be the right guard. I mean, Ryan Winkle, had an injury a couple of years ago. He's been a little under the radar, but he's running second team. So maybe you got your two right guards there. Marcus Henderson, apparently of the freshmen. The way Sam described Marcus Henderson was when you're that great of an athlete, you've got the ankles, you've got agility, and your quick twitch, that you want to start them at tackle and see if they can do that first, because that's the more valuable and needed positions at left tackle. So that's where Marcus Henderson is right now, and he's grooming or apprenticing behind Myron Cunningham, who could be a premier left tackle in the league this year. And at right tackle, I mean, we knew Noah Gatlin last year was going to challenge for the starting job. He went down with a knee, and it was Dalton Wagner's job for the whole year. But right now, Noah Gatlin's presence is pushing Dalton Wagner. And so you might have a good twosome there at right tackle. So those are the guys who stand out to me. And then it looks to me like right now Miles Mason is probably starting at safety with Joe Fouché. He's been an under-the-radar guy, not a lot of stats so far, but solid, and he's a willing tackler. And so when Jalen Catalon comes back, I think between Fouché and Miles Mason and Catalon and Miles Flusher, who I put out a video of a really nice hit. He's a violent guy when he arrives. Then you're starting to build a little bit of depth at safety. A lot of it's young, but not super tall, prototypical safety guys, but they're starting to put it together. And I'll tell you, Ja'Cory Turner, I think he's about 6'2", and he's still kind of thin, but he's the kind of guy who if he develops, they could find themselves some decent safeties in the near future.
Tom, as always, buddy, we appreciate it. You have yourself a good rest of your Thursday. Have a good weekend, man. I know that you got to do one more last stretch on Friday night with the players coming in, but after that, enjoy your weekend, man.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm watching this Hurricane Laura coverage, and it was raining big time on my TV in Alexandria, and I look outside, and we finally got some rain. So that was great to see.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Good talking.
See y'all.
Talk to you next week.
Good stuff always from Tom Murphy on Recruiting Thursday.